as I say, a long time ago, um, I was disputed once before about a couple billion years ago. I came into dispute as to my authenticity or authenticity. And so after that point in time, I was like, all right, I will prove it. And I proved it basically. And and pretty much, and from that day forward, I set down that there were going to be records and recordings and pictures and everything of everything, and everything was going to be documented. And I was done with this whole dispute thing about my authenticity of being Lucifer, White Star Line, the creator of stars and galaxies and everything else. I was like, all right, I'm done with this. I'm not going to play around anymore, and I wasn't. So, I still had quite a bit of power and wealth, and so I did things, and basically, turns out that there was just Harvard, Yale, Nixon, Kennedy, Rodney, Rick Bush that were actually disputing me in the first place. So, and basically just the American government that was actually disputing my authenticity, and that's because they plan to blow everything up and kill everyone. So, but like I said, I told them, I said, there are 800 galaxies out there. And, and Nixon and Rodney and everybody else was like, well, we'll just go by proof. You'll have to prove it. I was guilty until proven innocent. And I was like, okay, well, I'll prove it. You just go up there and look, and you'll find that there are stars and galaxies out there in the universe, and through science and space travel and everything else, you'll discover this. There are 80 galaxies, or 800 galaxies, and Nixon was like, and Nixon and JFK and Jimmy Carter were going to court, and and getting all these records and documents saying that no, those are space dust flecks in there. We're the only planet in the galaxy, and and they were doing the yelling, and they're like, those light dots that you see at night, those are all just, those are the rays of light that come off of the light source, wherever it is hitting those flecks and causing them to illuminate. They're illuminatus. It's basically just a bunch of druggies, going on TV, printing all this stuff saying that those are illuminated dusts of flecks of dust, and eventually they will drift down and whatever, and it was basically just Kennedy, Nixon, and Rodney, and Rick Bush, and a bunch of other people basically just saying that those aren't really stars, not like, there is one cosmic light source in the whole universe, and it is there, and we're the only ones. Anyway, Rick Bush, Rodney, and it was just a bunch of them cutting video and editing stuff and stuff like that, and that's what they were saying, and and then we got the space telescopes, and they were trying to stop all space telescopes and trying to be like, well, you can't cast a piece of glass that big, I won't let you. They're trying to do government restrictions on how big of a glass lens you can make. You can't make that big of a glass lens. But even with a small glass lens, they were just trying to stop, and they're just trying to cover for the skunk works and the SR-71 program and all their killing, and the Yale and Harvard people, and it's just this group that was like doing this thing, and yeah, I knew about it. I know about it. I know about the Yellers, and they thought, well, he won't know. He won't know. Lucifer won't know about this. And it's like, well, of course I knew. Of course I know. Kind of hard to stop me from knowing, considering. Anyway, so, they're like, well, unless somebody tells us, he won't know unless somebody tells him. So, and they thought they could do all this stuff. And it's like, well, I knew. I watched everyone and knew about it and everything else. And that's why we have fraud prevention and accredited teachers and accredited schools. And then when real scientists would come up and be like, well, those are probably just like our sun and all this other stuff, he would say, well, I can't just stop every crackpot, you know, and Nixon would go on this rant. Basically, Nixon ranted he would rant in court all day long. You know, in fact, they actually put like, I'm going to hold you in contempt because, and then Nixon tried to hold other people in contempt, you know, as he, you know, Nixon just played the system as much as he could. So did Jimmy Carter, all of them. You know, they used every lie, every excuse, everything they could possibly do to subvert technology and humanity, and meanwhile they were just rapists and killers. How much more complicated than that? And everybody else is like, well, when it's going to end? When it's going to end? It's like, it's not going to end. It's never going to end. Like, I wouldn't let it. I didn't let it. You know, a bunch of people were guilty as whatever, and they basically, you know, they backed Nixon and JFK and Jimmy Carter, and a bunch of people backed the wrong people. That's all there was to it. They backed the Pope. They backed this person. They backed that person. It's like, well, number one, you backed the wrong person. Number two, those people are now screaming for the rest of existence, or screaming for a very long time. They will be screaming for thousands of years. Although it was only about 120 years about. Most people weren't as guilty as them. Rodney might be among them because he was, they were the yellers and stuff like that. And I think Rodney might have taken part in the yelling group, which is a problem. Anyway, they were mostly arrested or put in jail, or some people just took a baseball bat to their throats. I'm not exactly sure what they did. I don't really know. I mean, Nixon cleaned up his own crew, basically. Nixon would kill off his own people. You know, JFK, they killed off their own people, basically, pretty much. Anyway, yeah, you know, and you know, I had to deal with a lot of things that I shouldn't have had to deal with. So anyway, so whatever. You know, I mean, hey, shrug.